This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Alain Poupart. How you doing, my man? You hanging in there?
Yep, hanging in there.
So I see. It was funny as hell what they did on Dolphin receipt. We all end up on those things, freezing cold takes. And have you been on freezing cold takes yet? Right? Has that guy gotten you yet?
Nope.
No, not yet. Huh? Is he frozen? Okay.
No. I said I have not.
Oh, okay. All right. Because we all end up there. So, what'd you think of the the production that they went into? Let me tell you, these Dolphin receipt people are they're committed. Would be a nice word for it.
Not the word I would use. I will refrain from commenting because any comment I make is not gonna be very nice. So I'll refrain. They're very cute. Sad that they have no life, but it's very cute.
It was funny. It was funny. We all end up there, bro. We all end up there. That's for damn sure. All right. So this week, one of the things that I was actually talking with Omar about now, the running game. Obviously, it woke up against Cleveland. Cleveland sucks. We know that against the run. So it's kind of like a perfect storm. But how much of it was it real or Memorex? Because clearly Wilson is a much better fit than Chase.
Yeah.
And it looks like the left guard and the right tackle are doing their jobs. And obviously, hell, even Armstead's practicing once a week. Limited basis, but still, that's a hell of an improvement. So how much do you think the running game will improve in the second half of the season?
Well, the other two, there are two issues, not issues, but there were two factors that came into play in the game against the Browns. Number one is the Browns were playing soft, didn't want to get burned deep. That opened up the front. The second thing is Cleveland's defensive tackles are, how shall we put it very nicely?
Yeah, right. They're bad. They're bad. They're bad against the run. I know. That's why it was a perfect storm.
Their DTs suck, period. In fact, they made a couple of roster moves on Monday involving defensive back, including Ben Staley. So, no, they have two very good defensive ends. Their DTs completely suck. And here's the fun part. The Dolphins' next game is against Houston, which, guess what, is even worse than Cleveland against the run. They're dead last in the NFL against the run.
I know.
They're horrible. The bottom line is, I do think the running game is going to become more and more of a factor. And, without question, Jeff Wilson is just a massive upgrade over Chase Edmonds. It's not even close.
Well, you were high on that one. You loved. I think you said something like you think that move will do better than Chubb or something like that. I think you're right. I think you said something.
I was more jacked by the second half of that move, and I like the Chubb move. I was more jacked by that second move than I was with the Chubb move. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, damn. Like if you'd ask me, like, on that day, at the beginning of that day, would you acquire Jeff Wilson and trade Chase Edmonds for him? I would have said yes, please.
Of course. Yes. No doubt about it. And how much better is Tua in this offense going to be if they actually have a running game? That's some scary stuff, dude. Because that's the magic of what they've done so far, is that they've had to overcome not having an impactful running game. Mostert has his moments, but it's still not an impactful running game. If you can actually put together, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because I don't believe it's Memorex. I know it's Cleveland sucks, and I know Houston will suck, but I just think that they're getting better in that area, and they will be more productive against the Bills and other teams. Are they going to dominate like they did Cleveland? No, of course not. But I think it'll be a respectable running game from here on out.
Yeah, and I don't think it's been bad to this point. It's been patchy. There have been instances where they've had nice streaks, and but everything they've done so well with the passing game that they haven't really focused on it. And now, it seemed like every time they ran the ball against Cleveland, it was 6 yards, 8 yards, 11 yards, 8 yards, and it was like, okay,
beautiful.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
No need to get too cute about it.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. All right. With Tua winning the FedEx Player of the Week 3 weeks in a row now, can you expect him to play at a higher level than this, bro? I mean, It is crazy. A 71% completion percentage right now. The role that he is on, I mean, it's impressive, dude. We haven't had the pleasure of watching anybody like this since Marino.
Yeah, no, I don't know if the game against Cleveland was about as spotless a game as you can play from the quarterback position. He was brilliant, and I've never denied that. And by the way, ask me how much stock I put in the FedEx Air Player of the Week when it's voted on by fans. So the thing that is semi surprising to me is that he hasn't won AFC Offensive Player of the Week during that stretch. They gave it to Jonathan Taylor this week. He had 163 total yards, 1 touchdown. Was that much better than what Tua did? I don't know.
No, it's not.
The week before Joe Mixon had 5 touchdowns. So that I understand. I don't remember who won it the week of the Detroit game. I don't know who got the award. But last week, I almost thought, especially lacking like a slam dunk, no brainer guy has to have the award. I almost thought that, okay, Tua didn't get it against Detroit, didn't get it against Chicago. It's a third straight week where he's putting up fabulous numbers. It's his best game of the stretch. Let's give it to him. And I was actually surprised that he didn't get it.
And that's voted by the media, right?
No, it's voted by the league.
Oh, by the league. Okay, so who in the league is voting for that?
That I have no clue, but they're the ones who determine it. It's not a media vote, and it's not a fan vote.
Wow. So that really carries no weight for me.
It carries less weight than fans voting on the award.
No, I'd rather if you're telling me a bunch of NFL executives are doing it and people in the front, whatever NFL people are, I don't think they would be objective. I know I don't.
Why would they not be objective?
And actually, I'm impressed with the FedEx one to the extreme of people hated Tua, bro. They were like, not hated, but like, they like, oh, this guy can't play. They've gone from the extreme of he can't play to he's the best guy this week in the NFL. That's pretty impressive. That's why I would like for the media people to be voting, because I think a lot of media people also would be, kind of going the other way finally for the kid. That's kind of weird. I didn't realize that it's not voted by the media. It's not voted by the fans. Not voted by coaches. Not voted. Who the hell's voting?
I don't know. I'll try to dig it up and find out.
Yeah, find out, bro. Is there some lawyer sitting there? Because let me tell you something, bro. I've worked in radio a long time, and I had salespeople walk in and try to talk to me about sports, and half of them wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about. So I'm just saying that's why it kind of rubs me the wrong way if it's just people in the NFL offices hanging around and voting.
I know the way it used to work, and I don't know if it's still the same way. It was like teams would send into the league players who they thought deserved consideration, and then the league would pick. And then also, if you recall, it used to be that in their press releases, it would include the nominees for the week. And I don't know how many years ago they stopped doing that.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that information, because that's kind of, I'd like to know who's voting on it, at least if it's former coaches or something. I mean, some kind of somebody that I know is watching a lot of football. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's very, very, very interesting. All right, can you bring up that graph? Did you see Jason? I forgot his name from Over the Cap. Do you follow him?
Yeah. What's his last name? I do follow him, actually. He's very good.
You know who I'm talking about.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw that one, actually.
Very interesting, isn't it? Miami is 6th overall in injuries, and yet
no, it's cap dollars on the IR or reserve list. So that includes Byron Jones.
Right, exactly.
And now it includes Agba. I don't know who else.
Needham, Brandon Jones.
Yeah, they're not necessarily big money guys. I'm trying to think who else is big money that they have on there.
But it hurts, bro. It hurts not having those guys there. I'm just saying those are important players. I'm just talking about important players.
Well, Byron Jones, yeah, I mean, it's the one to me. Like how different would this defense look if they'd had Byron Jones from the start of the year?
Oh, they don't have to play zone. That's all you need to know, dude. I mean, by the way, Josh Boyer, to me, that's another feather in his cap. He's had to overcome all these injuries. The DNs haven't really produced like they're supposed to, and I don't blame him for that. I got to blame Agba for not being the guy that he was the last 2 years, and it sucks that he's out. And yet he's also bringing along Justin Bethel and bringing along Kader Kohu, and then now he's like Spo, changing offenses in the middle of a season. Now he's got to change defensive scheme, which, as you know, this team wasn't built to be a zone team overall. Could you play occasional zone? Of course, but now you're stuck at playing more zone than you ever have. I got to give him credit, man.
No, but they're still playing some man. I've gotten a lot of people bitching about Josh Boyer, and even people like calling for his firing. I'm like, what the hell do you want? I mean, Jesus Christ! And if you look at all the key injuries the Dolphins have had this season, like practically every one of them's on defense.
Only Austin Jackson, bro.
Austin Jackson, Liam Eichenberg, the only two players on offense who have gone on IR.
Yeah, I know.
And then on defense, it's Needham, Brandon Jones. You haven't had Byron Jones, now Agba. I mean, it's not.
It's endless. It's endless. I think Boyer has done an excellent job. Actually, that's the way I look at it. I think he's done an excellent job overall. Danny Crossman, I'm not impressed, but Boyer, man, I give him a lot of props for what he's been able to overcome and adjust to at the same time. And dude, he's helping you out in personnel. He's developing his players. I love what he's doing. But anyway, what'd you think of this graph? I thought it was kind of interesting because you look all the way down. Green Bay sucks, and they have barely any injuries. New England has barely any injuries. Buffalo has barely any injuries. Some of these teams that are much more fortunate than Miami, and yet Miami's had to overcome a lot, which is a credit to Chris Greer and a credit to Mike McDaniel.
You look at KC at the bottom, like they've had like no significant players. No, and again, to me, and it's a credit to Josh Boyer to me, because again, pretty much all of the significant injuries Dolphins have suffered in 2022 have been on defense, and they've managed. It hasn't always been great, but hell, they won the Pittsburgh game. You could make the argument they won the opener against New England with the defensive touchdowns and holding New England to 7 points. They can shut down Nick Chubb. I know he had that long touchdown run, but outside of that, he didn't do anything. And I know a lot of people were scared about what Chubb might do to them.
Yes.
They didn't do anything. They've done a good job. And going back to Crossman real quickly, their return game has been non-existent. They've given up some returns. And
do I blame him that he doesn't have a returner? Is that his fault? That's the only part that I can give him a break on, right? Because they really did not make the investment on finding a true returner back there. They're kind of doing it by piecemeal, whoever's available. Oh, Cedric, you do it for a while. You do it for a while, and you do it for. But they really did not go out and get a Jakeem the Dream. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm also glad that they've gone away from using Hill, Waddle, and Holland back there to return.
Yes.
And the point I was going to make about Crossman is not really his fault that Jason Sanders can't get his game back. And I know I've heard some people suggesting maybe it's the holder. It hasn't been the same since Matt Hawk left. Well, in 2019, his second season, Matt Hawk was his holder, and he was really good as a rookie in 2018, and he wasn't so good in 2019. So I'm not playing that game that it's the holder who's making a difference.
Are you shocked they didn't bring on a kid, especially after losing Ben Stilley? A spot opened up. Are you shocked they didn't at least bring in a youngin that they can stash on the practice squad?
No, because if the issue is that Sanders, these guys having like self-confidence issues right now, you stick a kicker on the practice squad. I'm not sure that really helps. I think if you make the decision that you're going to ride with him, then ride with him. And then obviously, give him a few more games to get it right. And if he doesn't, and he winds up costing you a game at some point, then you're going to be left with no choice.
Yeah, no, it's just tough. Austin Jackson probably will be ready to really go all out after this bye week. You're not making any changes, correct?
After the game the O-line played against Cleveland, I think it'd be crazy to. I mean, you tell me the last time you saw an O-line play a game that clean. I
haven't seen an offense like this since the early 90s.
No, but I'm talking about strictly the O-line. When's the last time the O-line played a game that clean? 2016 maybe, when they had the unicorns?
Right. The unicorns. That's about it. The unicorns you would have to go to You know, even Ricky didn't have this kind of play. Ricky was just freaking amazing. And so he ended making that line a little better. But you're right, the Unicorns were actually pretty good overall. But this, by the way, is the best offense since the early 90s. Correct?
The early 90s. Right now, the way they're playing offense, I might go as far back as
The 80s, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're
I'm
scary.
just going to the early 90s because they were still pretty damn good then. You know, Buffalo was the beast.
Correct.
But they were still really good as an offense in those days.
Yeah. And then, 90, 91, 92, they were good.
Yeah, those years right there. Those early years.
94 when Marino came back, he had a really big season.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. They haven't had a coach quarterback combination since what? Since Shula and Marino, right? That's what you're looking at right now. So are you ready to say, is it real or is it Memorex because people have been burned with Gase's first year and Sperano's first year, and then it never was again the same. So are you amazed? Could this be running out, or is this different with the quarterback and different with the head coach? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, but right now we're at the bye after they've won 4 straight, and the offense has put up monster numbers the last 3 games. So
I gotta put you on a ledge, bro. I gotta put you on a ledge. That way Dolphin receipts has something more.
I do not see a need to make grand declarations right now, other than to say that right now they're kicking some major league ass, and let's enjoy it, and then let's reconvene in a few weeks or after the season when we have even more data, and then we can make the grand declarations at that time.
Yeah, grand declarations are better made when you really got to go out on a limb, bro. That's when you do it, bro. When the world hates Tua and yours truly saying he's not the problem, he's a star. You just got to fix everything around him. Grand declarations are fun that way, bro. You look bad sometimes, but sometimes it looks good.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like making grand declarations, and right now I don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
I was hope. Are you an Almond Joys or a Mounds guy? Either one.
Yeah, either one. Neither of them floor me.
I'll make you sick.
I'm a coffee crisp.
Mounds is one of my favorite candy bars.
Okay, no, that's fine. I'm a coffee crisp guy for my Canadian friends, or actually, I actually have seen it in Publix down here.
What is that?
Coffee crisp. It's a coffee flavored chocolate bar.
Really? That sounds interesting.
Completely outrageous.
Wow. What's it called again?
Coffee crisp.
Okay. I'm actually going to try that if I ever see it.
Look in the international food section at Publix.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, I'm a loser. I actually like Mounds. Most people don't like Mounds. Like, chocolate and coconut are like, you're gross, dude. So I get it. I get hammered all the time for loving Mounds. No. So it's just not my favorite, but it's one of my favorites. It's probably in my top 10. I love Mounds. It's crazy.
If I'm hungry and you put a bar in front of me, I'll have it.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Except for maybe a York peppermint patty.
No.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't eat that one. That one's not good for me. And as a kid, I didn't mind. Now, as a grown up, I have no interest in the Three Musketeer anymore. Don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it.
It's pedestrian.
Yeah, that mix inside just tastes kind of odd. All right, what are you working on alldolphins.com? So every Miami Dolphins fan on the planet, including Dolphins receipts, checks you out.
Well, they're more than welcome. Actually, I had some good stuff on today.
You always have good stuff. What are you talking about, bro?
Well, okay.
All the time.
Thank you. I actually revisited the 20 veteran acquisitions made by the Dolphins this year, ranked them from 1 to 20 in terms of impact.
Oh, check that out. Okay.
I had a mailbag that just got published a little while ago. And then I also broke down the news of the Dolphins signing Brennan Scarlett to the practice squad some 2+ months after they put him on IR.
Oh, okay. Now, let me ask you something. Are you a little bothered by the Ben Stille move? Because I kind of liked him in training camp for depth purposes. I loved his engine. That motor never stopped, dude. He was always giving good effort. I thought that was kind of an intriguing prospect. In other words,
Here's the thing. Okay, so he officially signed with the Browns on Tuesday, agreed to terms on Monday. If the Dolphins really valued Ben Silly, do you think that once they knew that Agba was going to be out for the year, that they would have said, "Listen, yo, Ben, we're going to sign you to the active roster. Don't go anywhere." So he was a serviceable guy, but
yeah.
again, the fact that the Dolphins didn't jump on the idea of signing him to the active roster immediately kind of tells you that maybe they didn't feel he was indispensable.
Fair enough. Definitely. But I did like his versatility, and I loved his motor. I thought that was one of the things that impressed me in training camp. I said, all right, this is a kid that gives you some great effort. Maybe you can work with him. And listen, let me tell you, one of the things I've talked about on the show is the Miami Dolphins have turned into the Miami Heat. You realize that, right? And what I mean by that is when you watch Summer League or something like that, most people wouldn't give a shit about Summer League. But if you're a Miami Heat fan, you do, because that's where Duncan came out of, and that's where Max Strus came out of, and Whiteside, and whatever, a whole bunch of young guys that they've developed, and they're still developing, overall. And now with the Dolphins, you add somebody to the practice squad or somebody's on the back end. In years past, because of the front offices weren't that great, I wasn't expecting much on the back end of any of your rosters. Now with these guys, you're like, well, who's this Cater Who guy you got? Well, who's this Trill Williams guy you got? Well, who's Robert Jones? What's with Brandon Shell? So all of a sudden, these no names that they will pick up off the street or undrafted, you've got to now pay attention because they seem to find, some diamonds in the rough. In other words.
Well, they've done that in the past. I mean, they found Nick Needham as a UFA, and Brandon Shell was not an unknown name. Brandon Shell was just.
But you still brought him. I mean, you got him off.
But he had some things physically he needed to clean up. That's why he hadn't signed with anybody. But he's a guy who's been a starter for 6 years in the NFL. So, but I'll grant Creative Crow was a great find.
Trill Williams was developing into a nice little player that might have been a really key backup. Nick Needham, obviously, what my point is, you even this a seventh rounder like Skylar Thompson, like normally, he's an arm for camp, whatever, he'll be gone. These guys, man, I'm just saying, it just seems to me like a much better front office that they'll just find guys that you would, you just don't know. I'm still intrigued by what's the name of the tight end, the fast tight end that they. Yeah, exactly. I'm still intrigued to see what happens with him next year, because this year it's probably more about development than anything else and building up his body a little bit more. But I'm intrigued because obviously the speed, you just wonder, okay, what do they see in him and what can they develop?
The thing with him though is I'm curious because you recall he got a couple of shots early in the year and he screwed it up. That drop in back-to-back weeks. Yeah. And I don't know if I've seen him on offense at all since then. So I don't know if at some point they're going to bring him back or resurface him or what. But
Braylon Sanders, bro, they give him one shot. The poor kid dropped the ball.
Practice squad. That's a different story. Like Connor's actually on the Connor's playing special teams every week. I'm just curious to see if he gets another shot on offense before.
I think they have no choice to keep him on the roster because people wanted him, and so they can't stash him.
Correct.
Yeah, they wanted to stash him, but they couldn't, unfortunately.
No, there's something there with the kid, but again, it may be like you said that for now. And I don't know if there's a lack of confidence or what, but for now they basically relegated him to special teams only, and then they'll revisit him. Obviously, they'll have a decision to make with Gesicki next off season once he's a free agent again.
Yeah, and look, like Sealer, another guy, they just find and get it off somebody else's team and bring him here, and the guys become a cornerstone of their defense, man. I'm just saying, it's pretty cool that I think it's a much better front office at unearthing talent.
But then when Sealer was picked up in 2019, so
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Over the years, that's what I'm saying, that they've developed into that team that they find players all over the damn place. That's my point. Is I think they're doing a much better job than any of the front offices of the past of unearthing talent at all levels. Is my point. You don't think so?
No, well, again, I don't know what you're comparing him to.
Every crap GM we've had here in the past.
Okay.
I'm just saying. The crap you've covered in the past, these guys are better than those guys. That's all.
I'd have to go back because I mean that's their job, and I'm not certainly going to debate you that they've come up with some gems. Needham was a gem. Zach Sealer, how Baltimore let him go was just it's kind of mind-boggling to me because that dude's a player. I mean, he is a player, and he's become like a really important player on that defensive line.
Big time.
No, that was a gem of a find, but yeah, props to whichever scout recommended. Hey, this guy's on waivers. Let's get him.
Damn right. That's what I'm saying. I think this is a really, really, really good front office overall. I think it's one of the 5 best.
But then the other point though about Sealer, if you recall, that's 2019, where that roster they kept bringing in young guys after young guys after young guys, and then let's see if we can hit on a couple of those guys and boom on Sealer, boom on Nick Needham. I don't remember if Mac Holland was another one.
Look at this front office, Doggy. They draft your franchise quarterback, something no other front office has done since Don Shula, and then 2 years later they draft a backup quarterback. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty freaking good.
Rodgers in 2005.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. It's not too bad to do that in 3 years that you get your starter and then you get your backup that you can develop. I think that's pretty good. I'm just saying I've been impressed with what they've done. All right, what are you doing at alldolphins.com so folks can check you out, my friend?
You asked me 2 minutes ago, but
I know, but they might forget.
I'll be happy to repeat. I did a ranking of the 20 veteran acquisitions in terms of their impact. I don't think it'd be a major shocker who's number one. But I ranked them all the way 1 through 20. No disrespect to 18, 19, 20. I also have a mailbag that just got published and did the breakdown of the news of Brandon Scarlett being signed to the practice squad and watch the guy. I think he's going to play a role on defense soon, much sooner than later.
Yeah, he's very versatile too. So that's why I'm sure they'll
be your Agba replacement.
Yeah. I can see something like that too. Overall, I'm with you there. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL and catch his work there at alldolphins.com. Bookmark that. That officially makes you a Miami Dolphins fan when you bookmark alldolphins.com. Have a great weekend, my friend. Enjoy the bye week. Enjoy the red zone on Sunday.
Yes, sir. You have a great weekend as well.
That's right. And enjoy the coffee crisp later. There you go. We got to get I got to get that coffee crisp. I used to like a cereal called Quisp. Quisp. It had a little Martian on it. Yeah, it was really good. Loved the Quisp. Play it. Close it out.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.